Live from my basement, it's the 2015 Fall Diecast Nationals. 64 of the world's most talented fake drivers will compete on this 7-foot-long stretch of plastic to determine this year's champion of the most prestigious downhill diecast race. We've split the cars up into 4 divisions to whittle the field down from 64 in the traditional bracket style. The invisible fans are here, the ceiling lights are on, the air conditioner at a comfortable 73 degrees. Let's get racing. We'll start things out with our defending champion Parker Kligerman going against Bobby Gerhart, and no surprise, Kligerman advances early. Next up, James Busher in the 30 car against Nelson Piquet Jr. also in the 30 car, but James Busher is going to advance of the two. Next up, Brian Scott against Kenny Wallace. Scott advances. Let's see if we can get a word with Kenny. And in fact, no, we can't. My Kenny Wallace laugh impersonation is too loud for this microphone. And back to the action. Brendan Gaughan on the inside, Stephen Wallace on the outside. Brendan Gaughan will win this one. Next up, the Italian Max Pappas against Brennan Poole. Pappas, close race. He's going to move on. Next, Harrison Rhodes against Regan Smith. It's going to be Smith. Oh, and Harrison Rhodes trouble. He'll get upside down. Let's take a look at our Zaxby's crash cam. What happened there? Lost control coming across the line, slid across the track. He winds up on his roof, still nearly wins the race. Now back to the action. We've got Extreme Racer Travis Pastrana against Donnie Neuenberger. And Pastrana's going to take it at the line. Next up, Justin Allgaier on the inside, Dylan Kwasniewski on the outside. Allgaier slow out of the box, but he recovers to knock off Dylan. And first up in the first cup bracket, we're going to have Jamie McMurray against Brad Keselowski. McMurray will get him at the line. Next up, Casey Mears on the inside, Stewart on the outside. Tony Stewart pulls away late, takes the flag. Next, Marcus Ambrose against Sam Hornish Jr. Close race, but it's going to be Sam Hornish Jr. Next up, Kyle Busch, Elliott Sadler. Oh, we got trouble. Elliott Sadler upside down as he comes across the finish line. Not sure what happened there. Let's take a look at our Zaxby's crash cam. And everything looked okay coming out of the box. I guess he must have lost control coming down the slope. Next up, Michael Waltrip on the inside, Greg Biffle on the outside. Waltrip's going to win, but Greg Biffle has come apart coming around the slowdown corner. I don't know what could have happened there. They need to bolt that car on tighter next time. Next up, Jeff Gordon against Kevin Harvick. Close match. It's going to be Jeff Gordon at the line, barely. Then Ken Schrader against the road course ace Ron Fellows. Schrader takes the flag. And here we've got Trevor Bayne versus Alex Bowman. Slow out of the box is Bayne. He catches up, nearly beats Bowman to the flag. Moving on to the second cup bracket, we're going to start with Austin Dillon against David Reagan. Dillon problems getting out of the box. You can see he gets a little loose, spins his tires. That's going to allow Reagan to take this race. And next up, Kyle Larson on the inside, Martin Truex Jr. on the outside. Martin Truex Jr. is going to edge him, and he'll move on. Now we've got Juan Pablo Montoya against Eric Almirola. Almirola pulls a wheelie out of the box. He's going to advance. Next up, Bobby Labonte bumps off Jimmy Johnson. Here we've got J.J. Yellen on the inside, David Gilliland on the outside. Gilliland will move on. Michael McDowell on the inside, Josh Wise on the outside. Wise pulls away, he'll win easily. Next, Kurt Busch versus Brian Vickers. Vickers will advance. Here, Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the inside, Travis Kvapil on the outside. Earnhardt Jr. edges him, and he'll move on. Starting off the final ARCA bracket, we're going to have Matt Tifft defeat Frank Kimmel, who has some trouble getting out of the starting gates. Kimmel, defying logic and physics, hung up on the gate. Here we've got Chad Hockenbaugh versus Michael Lira. Hockenbaugh squirrely out of the box. Lira is going to advance. Next up, Will Kimmel against Mason Mitchell. Mitchell will move on to the next round. Here we've got Grant Enfinger on the inside, Rico Abreu on the outside. Enfinger will move on. Next up, John West Townley against Brandon McReynolds. Brandon McReynolds wins a close race. He'll advance to the next round. And next up, Sarah Cornett Ching on the inside. Bobby Gerhart in his second entry on the outside. Gerhart was given a second entry into the contest after being the only driver crazy enough to let me into his shop. And in the meantime, Bobby Gerhart will win this race over Sarah Cornett Ching. Next up, Kyle Benjamin defeats Justin Boston, who apparently had some trouble getting out of the gate. Stalled out. He's going to need a push to get to the finish line. And to finish up the first round, we'll have Spencer Gallagher defeating Greg Alding. Gallagher moves on, and that's going to be the end of the round of 64. Now on to the round of 32, Sam Hornish Jr. against Jamie McMurray, and it's McMurray that's going to advance. Next up, Tony Stewart against Michael Waltrip. And Michael Waltrip will pull away from Stewart at the line. He'll move on. Next up, Jeff Gordon against Ken Schrader. Down. What a close finish. It's going to be Jeff Gordon. Let's take a look at our Jegs finish line. Down goes the lever for the 24 car. Next up, Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman. Bowman is going to move on. Here, a battle of front row cars. David Reagan on the inside, David Gilliland on the outside. And no one reset the line, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to David Reagan. Next, Martin Truex against Brian Vickers. Two similar looking cars, but Truex will advance. And finally, Dale Earnhardt Jr. against Josh Wise. Wise with an upset win. He'll advance to the Sweet 16. In the Xfinity division, we've got Regan Smith against Brian Scott. Brian Scott with a good start. He'll move on. Next up, James Buescher on the inside versus Justin Allgaier. Close race, but it's going to be Buescher. Next, Max Pappas in the 33 against Travis Pastrana. Pastrana's going to win. That'll eliminate Max Pappas. Let's hear what he has to say. I was so happy to be here. Say hi to my family at home. Well, that was a very convincing interview. Now we've got defending champion Parker Kligerman again advancing. He'll move on past Brendan Gaughan. And finally, in the ARCA and K&N Pro Series divisions, Bobby Gerhart takes down Brandon McReynolds. Next up, Matt Tifft on the inside, Michael Lira on the outside. Lira's going to advance. And here we've got Spencer Gallagher taking down Kyle Benjamin in the 27. Next up, Mason Mitchell against Grant Enfinger. Mitchell pulls away as Enfinger has a problem. And going into the round of the Sweet 16, we've made a change to the track's configuration and have raised the starting gate up to the highest shelf on the dresser. This should increase speeds going down the slope and also increase the chance for incidents as they come to the line. Well, first up, we've got Jamie McMurray against Mike Kowalczyk. Look at that speed. And it's going to be McMurray by a millimeter at the flag. So now we'll move on to Martin Truex versus Josh Wise. Wise strong out of the box, but it's going to be Truex. Here we've got Alex Bowman against Jeff Gordon. Another close race, big speed at the line. It's going to be Jeff advancing. Next, David Reagan against Eric Almirola. Oh, let's take a look at the instant replay. Wow, David Reagan had the advantage, but Almirola took some extra speed down the slope. He'll advance. On the Xfinity side, we're going to have Brian Scott versus James Buescher. Even out of the box. Close race, but it's going to be Brian Scott. Next up, Travis Pastrana trying to knock off Parker Kligerman. And Kligerman is going to advance again. And back on the ARCA side, we've got Bobby Gerhart in the 5 and Spencer Gallagher in the 23. And the black car of Gerhart will advance. Next up, Michael Lira's 58 versus Mason Mitchell in the 78. And the white car, number 78, Mason Mitchell, is going to move on. We'll start out with Jamie Mack against Jeff Gordon. Even start, but Gordon will pull away and advance to the final 4. Next up, Eric Almirola against Martin Truex. Almirola gets a good start. Another photo finish. It's going to be Martin Truex. Next up, Brian Scott trying to end Parker Kligerman's reign of terror as this car continues to advance, and it will once again. And in the ARCA finale, it's going to be Bobby Gerhart in the 5 against Mason Mitchell's 78. And Mitchell will go to the final 4. Well, now that we're down to just 4, I can say, you wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast! I just had to get that off my chest. Sorry about that. One of these two will advance. Will it be Truex Jr. or Gordon? At the line, Jeff Gordon will go to the championship round. Finally, to fill out the lower divisions, we've got Mason Mitchell trying to end Parker Kligerman's dynasty. Down the line they go. Oh, there's trouble! Mason Mitchell upside down prior to the line. He does not finish, which means Parker Kligerman will... Well, no, he won't. Kligerman never made it either. He's at the bottom of the slope still. Unbelievable turn of events as neither car finishes the race. Let's take a look on our Zaxby's crash cam, see if we can determine what happened. The Kligerman off early, then Mitchell. I can't tell if he was already upside down by the time he got there. Let's take a slower look. Oh, he lost control just prior to the line. May have still been airborne from the lift. And he could not get across the flag. So neither car finishes the race, which means neither will advance. Jeff Gordon's all by himself in the championship round, but we've still got a race to run. He'll have to finish the race and cross the flag to be the champion. Can he do it? Yes, and Jeff Gordon is your uncontested champion of the 2015 Fall Diecast Nationals. The show's gone on long enough and I can hear the music playing me out, so for next time, from the world capital of fake cars, see ya.